video. Thank you so much for being here. If you're new, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. So my name is Jaala and I am 26 years old and I'm currently an Australian who is living abroad in China. And that is exactly what today's video is going to be about. I'm going to be talking about all the things that I wish I had known before I'd come to China, what I think you should know if you're planning on visiting China, moving to China, and also the pros and the cons, because there are some things that I absolutely love about China. Some, they're just different and not what I'm used to in Australia. So I'm going to be discussing all of that today. So please like and subscribe to my channel and let's just jump straight into it. Okay, so I have a note here on my computer of all of my thoughts. So I do just want to put a couple of disclaimers in here. I am living in a certain part of China that is near Shanghai, so I'm not living directly in a major city, which I know is quite common if you are an expat or a foreigner. They often gravitate towards the big cities, which I'm going to talk about why in a little bit later of the video. So yeah, I'm not living in a super busy hustle bustle part of China, and also I'm here with a company, so I do have support in terms of HR and people sort of helping me with how to navigate things and get around, and I do have support in that way. And I also do want to acknowledge the fact that I am a Caucasian white woman, so as much as I don't want to bring it up, that does also give me a certain level of privilege I've noticed in China and how I am treated by the people here. So I do just want to get that out there. First of all, I'm going to start with sort of the things that are neutral. So they're not a pro, they're not a con, but they're just things that I think that everyone should know. And these are probably more pertaining to whether you are visiting or you're living. So they're applicable for both. But first thing is first, and something that probably is on the top of everyone's list, is using your phone and social media. So I would probably say one of the most important things before you come to China, not when you get here, before, you need to enable or set up your VPN. So a VPN is basically something that you turn on, a virtual personal network, I think it stands for, or something like that. I could be wrong. But basically you turn it on and it puts your location somewhere else in the world, so you're able to access your social media, Google, basically anything that's blocked once you enter mainland China. So I use Astral VPN. I found it really good. That one is a paid one, but I can add up to about 5 devices under one account. I think it was around $200 for 1 year, but there are free ones you can use. I know there's like ExpressVPN and there's a ton out there. So just, even if you're visiting or whatever and you do want to have access to your Western social media apps, please make sure that you do it before you enter mainland China. If you are staying for either a prolonged time period or you're moving here, is getting a Chinese SIM card. You will need a Chinese number to sign up for most things here, and they will ask for it a lot of the time for like SMS verifications and just any sort of forms that you might need. So I was lucky and had someone from my company come to, I'm with China Mobile, and they helped me set it up. Mobile is super cheap here, really affordable, and I just top up my account with my Alipay balance and it's super duper easy to use. So you can buy, I think there's one called Ni Hao Mobile, which you can get before you come to China, and it will give you a Chinese mobile number. So yeah, if you are planning on staying for a longer period of time and you don't want to pay data roaming, I would highly recommend getting a Chinese SIM card. The next thing, if you are a foreigner visiting, living, whatever, please, 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 you will need your passport. I do not leave my apartment without my passport. It is my prized possession. I have a backpack. It is always in my backpack. If I bring my handbag with me, it's always in there. It is your life. Basically, it is more important than my phone, than my money, than anything. Your passport. The Chinese word is huzhou. So if they say huzhou, passport, they won't just request it willy-nilly, but that is your verification for everything. If you go to get any medical checks, immigration, bank, phone, anything, passport. If you're going to use the trains here, you will need it to get on and off the trains. You will need it to sign up for Alipay, WeChat, all that sort of stuff. So you do not want to lose your passport. That sort of goes along, well, not really, but with what I was just saying, is that knowing a few Chinese words will help you a lot here. I know everyone's like, oh, they speak English. As soon as you leave a major city, they don't. I know from experience, I'm about an hour away drive from Shanghai, and the level of English here is way, way down. Some of the signs are in English, but basically knowing just a few Chinese words will really help. And the people here also really appreciate the fact that you are trying to learn Chinese. So I would say quite important ones would be hello, thank you, so ni hao, xie xie. I would say if you can learn 我听不懂, which means I don't understand, 我听不懂. You could say 我不知道, 我不知道, I do not know. You could also say. And then what's another one that I probably use quite a lot? 没关系, 没关系 or 没事没事. That means that's okay, no worries, don't worry about it. That's a really common one that I use quite a lot. But basically, or even if you want a translator app, I would recommend Baidu Translate, not Google Translate. Google Translate sucks. For Chinese specifically, I don't know about other languages, but get Baidu Translate, or I think Apple has a Translate if you use that. Yeah, if you can learn just some super, super basic Chinese, that's going to go a long way with helping you. Yeah, and the Chinese people I've found are just a lot more receptive, like, to you trying. Next one is probably the government here. So obviously it is a communist country. Honestly, there's not a lot to say for this point. I think it's just something that you need to keep in mind while you are here, and just something to be respectful of, whether you agree or not. I think it's just important to be mindful of the country you are in. To go along with that, the surveillance and security here, it can be viewed as a good and a bad thing. That's why I haven't put it under a specific category. There are a lot of cameras here. There are a lot of police. There are a lot of guards. They're almost at the bottom of every building or precinct. There'll be someone there. But to be honest, you don't really notice them after a while. They don't really do anything. I've never had an experience or a bad run-in with someone. Yeah, there's nothing... What I'm trying to say, there's nothing to be scared of at all, obviously, unless you're doing something wrong. But most of the time, they really just leave you alone and you don't even notice that they're there. I personally, as a woman, feel very safe here. Like, I have no problem going in the middle of Shanghai at night, walking around, catching the subway. No issues at all. None. So if you're looking to solo travel, I honestly think China is a really great country to do that in. I have not, yeah, everyone here is super honest, I will say, and due to all of the surveillance and security, you're just really a lot safer than you are in any other country. So that, I think, is a plus in some ways. And the next thing that, again, not a pro or a con, is the different food here. So obviously every country has a different cuisine, and I will say that it's nothing really like what you get if you're getting Chinese in Australia or anything like that. I will say and I haven't tried a lot, and I haven't gone to different parts of China, so I can only speak for Shanghai. I know that up in the north, the food's a lot more seasoned and it's a lot spicier. And they do have dishes that are specific to each region. So each region has sort of their version of what's called a hot pot. So if you go up north, it's usually a lot more spicy from what I've heard. And also the vegetables change with the seasons. They eat a lot more seasonally here, cook a lot of their food. I've noticed that, like, delivery is a big thing here, but like fast food and stuff, nowhere near as big as over in the Western society. Like, I see KFC here, McDonald's, Burger King, Starbucks, but like, I don't think they're anywhere near as popular. And they obviously have their versions of fast food, which I personally haven't tried, but yeah. So moving on to the pros, the things I really like about China. So starting off with number one is the delivery and the online shopping here. It is crazy convenient here. It is so cheap. It's so quick. It's usually very, very reliable. So yeah, you can order almost anything delivery wise, and online they have like Taobao, Pinduoduo, JD for online shopping, and they're just pretty much chef's kiss. Sometimes I will say just be careful that you're getting a legit thing, because sometimes they do have a lot of fakes out there, but overall it's amazing, and everything comes within like 1 to 2 days. The delivery is here within like an hour if you order groceries, if you order food. I ordered Starbucks this morning and it was delivered to my apartment within 25 minutes. Like, chef's kiss. And I'm not even in a big city. In Shanghai, it's way better. Next thing, I suppose, going along with that is the transport here. Their public transport, it's just amazing. And so I obviously don't have a car here. They have scooters, bikes, they have Didi, which is basically Uber. They have the high-speed rail train, they have the subway. You can rent the bikes in the major cities. You just scan it with your Alipay, unlock it, and off you go. It's amazing. So they just have a lot of different modes of transport. They're all very convenient. They're all very cost effective. Like a Didi here, like a 30-minute taxi ride will be the equivalent of like 10 Australian dollars. So it's amazing. Is Alipay and WeChat. You can download these as a Westerner and sort of set them up before. I would suggest though, if you are a foreigner, like it can be a bit tricky when you're changing phone numbers over. I've had a bit of an issue with that. So just maybe be a bit careful. But I would say if you have to pick one or the other, I would choose picking WeChat, because you can pay through both. You can pay through Alipay and WeChat. The difference, there is no difference with the payment. They're the same. Both merchants take basically anything. So basically it's just a little QR code that you pop up on your phone, and then the seller just scans it, and there you go. Your money is transferred to them. It's amazing. If you're splitting a bill with someone, it's so easy. You don't need to ask for bank details, transfer details, anything like that. You literally just either send it in a chat, how much you're sending them, they accept it, or you just scan their little code, their little QR code that everyone has, and away it goes. It's so, so good. I would say how lovely the people are here. I haven't come across one person that hasn't been willing to help me or nice if I've asked them, whether they can speak English or not. I'm sure like there are people, like you'll hear people say Waiguaren, which means foreigner. But whatever, like people are just curious. They'll stare at me, I'll smile back and wave. And most of the time they'll smile back at me. The kids are so cute. The kids love it. Yeah. And along with that, the rich culture and history that is in China, there is so much to see. It's such an odd blend of old and new, and it's such an interesting fusion, and I love it. And I can't wait to explore more and go to Beijing. I want to go to Chongqing. And I suppose off that point to springboard is it's just such a fast moving country. Their rate of development is crazy. How fast things get built, how fast things get done, like how fast things change. It's crazy. So if you're looking for somewhere fast paced and ever changing, this is a country that I think you should be on the lookout for, because there's some crazy stuff here, and I'm just on the tip of the iceberg. Is the Western food chains, especially in bigger cities. So they're a lot more catering to foreigners. So you can probably find basically any Western food chain, store, brand that you are used to in your country. They will have it here, if not a very similar alternative. So don't stress about not being able to find something, because chances are you can get it imported if you can't get it directly here. So don't worry about that. The next thing is the prices and the affordability here. It is really, really good. If you're looking to save some money, if you want things cheaply and you want to be able to live a bit more affordably, this is a good country to do it in. Obviously, living in a big city, you will get those price increases and things will be more expensive, like any city in the world. But compared to London, New York, like Sydney in Australia, it's so cheap here. I just think here quite affordable. And yeah, like for example, my phone bill is at maybe like $15 a month, if that, in Australian dollars. So about 50 to 60 UN. Food's cheap here. like transport's cheap here, electricity, phones cheap. I'm not too sure about rent because I don't personally organize my rent. That's organized as well through my job, so can't speak to that. But yeah, affordability is a big one here. Is that everything here is really reliable for the most part. The public transport is super reliable here. The trains are always on time. The subway is always on time. If someone is going to do something for you, they're going to do it. The post is always pretty reliable and pretty easy to track. Deliveries, if you're ordering food, they're always contactable, always reachable. Everyone is super honest here as well. So I find I've never really had an issue. Even if a delivery has gone missing or gone wrong, I've always gotten it in the end. I've just had to ask for some help. And again, people have been lovely and willing to help. And I've never had a problem that can't be solved by a bit of asking for help, and a bit of patience is another thing. So moving on to the cons, because there are some, and I don't necessarily want you to look at these as big X marks. They're just more things to be aware of, things you will have to be patient with, and it's just a bit of a steeper learning curve than you might experience if you were visiting or moving to another country. So please just be open-minded. So probably the biggest one for me, and I think for almost every Westerner, is going to be the language barrier and the barrier with the characters. If you don't know, traditional and simplified Chinese uses what's called pinyin. So basically they have words that then get translated into characters. So for example, ni hao is N-I, and ni is a character, which means you. So when they're reading, they don't read the pinyin, they just read the character. So for you, it's honestly going to be like a load of mumbo jumbo, like it is for me. So first of all, yeah, if you can use the pinyin, that will get you some of the way. And then for the rest, you just have to use your translate, which is what I do. So for example, if I am getting something delivered and the driver is attempting to contact me or call me and there is no one around me that speaks Chinese, I miss the call and then I will text them in Chinese and say that I am a foreigner. Is this about my delivery? And then we usually text back and forth and solve the issue. Like I said, it just requires a little bit more patience and problem solving than you might experience in another country. Next is if you are a foreigner and you are here for an extended period of time, not being a mainland resident will be annoying sometimes, in terms of sometimes the only ID that they will accept is a mainland ID. So if, for example, like my Taobao account is blocked and the way to unblock it is to verify your identity, but they will only accept a mainland ID. And that is something I'm trying to troubleshoot with my Chinese friends at the moment, but that's something that can be a bit frustrating. Also, if you are staying and you're using Alipay or WeChat and your card connected to your account is not an mainland China bank card or bank account, some smaller merchants will not accept it. So that will be a bit of an issue for you. Also going along with that, cash is basically non-existent here. So if you are a foreigner and you're not super tech savvy, you're gonna have to learn to be, because basically they don't use cash here. You might be a bit better on the street vendors and stuff, but if you're trying to pay for like a lot of things, they just won't accept it. It's a pretty cashless society now, thanks to WeChat and Alipay. So I would say, yeah, if you're a foreigner, please brush up on your tech skills, because you're gonna find that a bit of a roadblock otherwise. The amount of people that live in China is a lot. Put it in perspective, the population of Shanghai alone is about the population of the whole of Australia. So there is a lot of people that live here. So please, if you're booking things, you need to book it in advance, especially if it's like a tourist attraction or sightseeing, or even booking your train tickets. A lot of the times the trains will be sold out if you try and book on the day. So please you just need to be a little bit more prepared, and you can't just always get it on the fly. So, and then to go along with that, it's a very big country. So I didn't realize how big it was until I got here. She's big. So, you know, you can't just hop around like you might think. It does require a lot of travel time, and that's probably just me being naive, but you know, it's not a quick trip to Beijing. Like, it's a full flight, a full like 5-6 hours on a train if you're taking the train, or a flight 2 to 3 hours going to the airport, all that stuff. So please just factor that in if you are traveling here, that it is quite a big spread out country, so you will need to allocate adequate time for your traveling. Next thing is not something that I particularly noticed, but it definitely is prevalent, is the air quality and the air pollution here. So some days it's worse than others, and yeah, you don't feel it or smell it or taste it or anything like that, but it's just more things like I don't really see the night sky. The UV of the sun is really low. Even though it's sunny, the UV is quite low. You don't really see the clouds or a blue sky here. So that's just something that, I mean, I personally, just from a happiness perspective, I love the sun. I think most people do. And it's just something that you don't really get as much of here. The next thing is the sanitary conditions. Now, I really don't want this to come across as rude, because it's just that they're different conditions than what we have in the West. So I think it's just more a thing to be aware of if you are a Westerner, especially if you're traveling to places that aren't super modern. You will find squat toilets, and please, if you're sightseeing and going out and about, bring your own tissues, because a lot of the time they won't have toilet paper in the restrooms. So bring your own toilet paper, bring hand sanitizer, and you should be like some wipes or something, you'll be fine. They usually don't flush their toilet paper or their tissues. They have a rubbish bin next to the toilet. So that's another thing that can be a bit weird when you first get here, but you get used to it. But again, just something that you should be aware of is the hot water here. So if you go basically anywhere and you're looking to refill your water bottle, or you go to a restaurant and ask for water, they'll give you hot water. So it's a sort of health belief. They don't like cold water. It's a lot healthier for them to have hot water. So that's just something, again, to be mindful of. You can ask for Bing Shui, which is iced water, and they'll give you iced water. But any other time, unless you specify, it will be warm to hot. So please just, keep that in mind again. Is maps and getting around here. So I use Apple Maps, but you can also use, I think it's A Maps and Baidu Maps. There's a few, and they're a lot more reliable. Like Google Maps won't work here unless you have a VPN on, but it's not really updated properly. So I use Apple Maps, and I find it really helpful because it can give me the subway lines for the metro and stuff. But A Maps and Baidu are only in Chinese. So yeah, I find Apple Maps the easiest, but pick your poison. And the last thing I would say, and I sort of touched on it before, but it is a very, very tech heavy society. So yeah, if you are not great on your phone, I'm not saying it's impossible. I would just say maybe brush up on your phone skills. The main things you will need is to know how to use a VPN, a translator, search engine, and maps, and WeChat or Alipay. They're going to be your 5 sort of things that you're going to use the most here. So yeah, but any questions, please let me know. If you want any sort of extra info or videos, I'd be happy to make that. But I hope this was informative, and please, it's all just my personal opinion. I honestly really like China. I have a positive view of the country, of the people, of my experience. So it's not a country you should be scared of at all, but please just do your due diligence and make sure that, you know, you come here prepared, because there are some things that are a bit different. So anyway, I will talk to you in my next video. Bye.